it's Laura and welcome to my channel. And as you can see by my setting, today is a tutorial day. I'm in my studio and today you will learn how to make this cabochon wrapped pendant. Okay, this is the piece that you will actually learn how to make from the very beginning to the very end. You'll see how to do this one piece here. I'll just give you a quick profile of it all. We have a woven bezel, woven bail, supported back, detail across the front. That's the whole piece there. So yeah, oh, can you see it? Let's see. So I'm freaking the camera out. It doesn't like it. It's too close. But that's the detail. You'll be able to see by the picture anyway, as to what you're actually making. But yeah, it's going to be this piece here. Please excuse me, I'm a little bit sniffly in the video because I have a little bit of a cold come in, so I'm a little bit sniffly, and then I try to hold my breath a little bit so I don't sniff so much. So yeah, sorry. But yeah, that's the tutorial for today, so I hope you like it. Please give me a thumbs up if you do. Please subscribe. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the design. Have a go at it. Do you have a go at it? Let me know. Anyway, enjoy the video. Okay, so basically the tools that I'm going to be using are as follows. I've got my round nose pliers, which are great for creating those spirals and shapes. My chain nose pliers, or you may call them snipe pliers, which are basically tapered flat pliers. Flush cutters. Another pair of flush cutters. So these are my zero-ons and these are my beadle-ons. These are going to be my more all-round cutters. They're going to use, they cut a heavier gauge of wire. These are for finishing my finer gauges of wire. And then just my bail making pliers, just to create that bail or shape or whatever I fancy. So let's get started. So the cabochons that I have are labradorite cabochons. I have two different shapes just to show you how you can use, you don't have to stick to like a standard shape of cabochon. You don't have to have a teardrop or an oval, you can use this technique with any shape. Okay, and also don't be afraid to sort of try different orientations of that cabochon. You don't have to set it in that particular direction. Now I've chosen labradorites just because I think they're a beautiful gemstone, and also they shot really well on the camera. I'm also using some 0.8 wire. So I have seen if this board here, oops, sorry. So this is about 42 centimeters of 0.8, and there's 4 lengths of it. Okay. And then I have some 0.315 as my weaving wire. Nice fine wire. Now, as I said, I'm using bare copper because 1, it shows up really nicely on camera, and 2, it goes really nice with labradorite. So, which cabochon should we use? I think I'm going to go ahead and use this teardrop one here. So again, when you're using this, have a look at it and have a look at the way that you might want to set it, whether you want it to be the point down or whether you want the point up. Also, when you have a gemstone such as a labradorite, you can see then sometimes you are a bit dictated to by the gemstone because you want to bring the best of that gemstone out. So for me, whilst I prefer generally to have a pointing down stone, I personally prefer it when the point's down. You can see the labrarescence there, which is this schiller effect. But when you rotate that gemstone and have it like that, it literally lights up. So for me, to bring the best out of this gemstone, I need to set it in this direction. Okay, so that's how I'm going to set the gemstone, and I'm going to start off by doing a weave. I want to weave all of my wires together, and I'm going to do a weave that will go around the whole of the gemstone. I have 4 lengths of wire, so to start I'm going to take my 0.4, I'm going to leave a tail, and I am about 1/3 of the way down the wire. Okay, so I'm going to wrap 1, sorry if this wobbles a bit, I'll just raise it up a bit so that, oh, excuse my mess. It's a working desk, most definitely. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to take my next wire, add it to the top, take both my wires and wrap it 1, 2, and then I'm going to come into the middle of those 2 wires and bring that wire back towards me. I'm then going to take the 3rd wire and same again. And what I tend to do is sort of separate out the wires as well so that I can see which ones are which. wires in front of me. It's actually in the middle of these two wires now, and I'm going to bring it up and wrap these two wires. So it's going to go over once and then twice. Okay. See if we can show you up close for you to have a look. Let's see if we can get this to focus. Alright, now on that second wrap, straighten these out because they've crossed over. I'm going to bring it into the middle of the two I just wrapped, back towards me. I'm now going to take the fourth wire, bring that to the top, add that, and I'm trying to get all of the ends to line up as well. Exactly the same, I'm going to wrap the top two, so wire going over once, over again, and into the middle back towards me. Okay, and now I want to come back down, so I'm going to just keep going in two, so I want to wrap the two middle wires now. So around once, around again, and then into the middle of the two that I've just wrapped, bringing that over here. Okay, so you see we're starting to form like a little pyramid. And I'm going to wrap the final two wires again. So once, oops, where did you go? Oh, sorry, lost my wire there. So around the bottom two wires once and then twice, coming up back into the middle towards me. So every time you're going to wrap around both the wires once and then around again, and then come up into the middle of the two wires you just wrapped to bring that wire to face you again. Okay, I'm going to just do that one more time for you to see. So I'm going to repeat that process. So I'm going to go back and wrap the two middle wires, so around once, around again, and into the middle of the two that I just wrapped, and then the top two, so that top wire and then that one below it, around once and around twice, and that's another rotation. Sorry. And then the middle two again, so around once and then twice and into the middle. Bottom two once, around and into the middle, and that's another rotation for you to see. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and do enough of this wrap to do the whole circumference of this stone. I will be right back. Okay everyone, so I've just gone ahead and, as you can see, just done a whole strip of that weave. Okay, so it's worked out, it's roughly around about in the centre now, because I started off just to the side here and it's moved sort of just to fill that centre area. Now you can, if you want to, you should be able to maybe move some of these wires, but I will say when you have a bare copper wire or a sterling silver, sometimes what happens is because it is bare, there's no coating on it, it tends to kind of really grip the wires, grip each other, so you don't always have the movement that you may have if you were to use, say, a coated wire. Because it has a coating which is a little bit more of a slippery texture, they tend to be a bit easier to move. However, you know, this is in the right place where I want it to be, and what I've done is I've just like moved the weave around a little bit. Now I could push this weave really tight if I wanted to, so it's going to look like that, but I've deliberately wanted it to be a little bit more open because I wanted to have, can you see how that's created like little gaps? Let me see if I can get really close for you to see. Here, so you can see, and that will give me opportunities to place wires in between them. So I've deliberately kind of moved this out and opened out the weave a little bit. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is take the cabochon. Now obviously I'm using a teardrop style. If I was to use, say, the oval one, same theory. You would just come up to the top of wherever, I mean, if I wanted it in this position, I would go to the top of where I would like my bail to begin. So for me, these wires are going to become my bail wires. Yeah, bail wires. Yeah, oof, didn't sound right. So what I'm going to do is just take my chain nose pliers and bend all 4 of those wires up so that I know that that's where the bail will start. Coming in, and I'm just going to kind of go around, so roughly here, so I can start to kind of form that. And I know it's going to go around placing it like this all the way around. Now, having done that, I can see, whereas I thought it was going to be enough, it's not quite enough of weaving, so I'm going to go back and do a little bit more. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I have just completed that little extra bit of weaving. So I'm going to go back now, place this back in here, and as you can see where I've worked with it, it's kind of dropped where I initially had it. So I really want to mould it nice and tight to the actual cabochon itself. Really make sure, and I think that that's going to be about right. So before I set that into place, what I'm going to do is go ahead and bend these wires back as well, so that I should be able to get that into there, and that should fit the cabochon. It's not going to be a perfect fit, it still needs to be moulded to the stone, but that's going to be a pretty good start. Okay, so we can see that's holding it there. Okay, now what I want to do is, using this wire that I've got at the back here, sorry my bracelet makes a lot of noise, is I'm going to take the two wires. Now you can have a set front and back, there's no particular wrong or right way. I'm just going to take the two outer bail wires from what will be the back of the frame, so just those two there, one on each side. I'm going to take the tail of the 0.315 that I've been working with and wrap them together just to secure that. Okay, and then I've done 2 wraps around there, and then I'm going to wrap one more time, just because I'm running out of wire. In case I didn't mention earlier, just to say that the amount of wire that you use for the weaving wire is just as long as you can handle, really, probably a couple of meters. So just to show you exactly what I have just done, I've just taken these 2 wires here and I have wrapped those together a couple of times, and then taken this wire around this one, and I'm just going to come in and cut that wire. Okay, that's just secured the frame for me, so I should be able to pop this in now. It's about right. I mean, it's not secure, of course it's not, because there's nothing to hold it at the front or the back. It's just effectively a bezel at the moment. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, if you remember I said I wanted to create that gap in between the frame here, I'm going to take another length of my 0.315. Again, it's going to probably be about a metre or so. Just taking that directly from the reel here. Okay, and what I want to do is create a backing for the stone. So I'm going to come in through, hopefully through the frame here. I'm just going to, let's try that again. I will show you now, don't worry. Okay. Oops. Sorry, this is on like a kind of a springy tripod, and it springs a lot if you touch it. Okay. So can you see I've just put that wire through that little gap there through the weaving. Okay, I've got a bit of a tail. I'm going to take that tail, move it, and just gently wrap it up here for now. Just want it to get out of the way. And then I'm going to start to do a netting technique. Okay, so I'm going to take the end of the wire, and I'm just going to feed it through the next hole. So it's going down and through. Let me just move that so it doesn't distract the camera. And I want to bring it into the loop. So the wire's making a loop, and I'm bringing it into the loop. So you can see there's the wire and there's the loop behind it. And then when it gets to here, I'm just going to let it form into a loop. Like that. Hopefully you can see, and you want that to be a loop. Hey, again, taking that wire, coming to the next gap, feeding it down, and making sure it comes up towards you, so it comes over that wire, over that loop. So you can see it like that. Okay, and again, forming that loop. I'll do one more just to hopefully make sure it's clear. Through, and if it isn't an obvious kind of gap, you can kind of shimmy it open and create one. Should be able to get that wire through. So it's gone through. So I'm going to move the wire to the side. Take that tail, oops, come on, and bring it up so it's going. Oops. So it's going to look like that. It's like a macrame half hitch stitch if you do any macrame. So it looks like that. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I'll just try it one more time just to make sure you really can see what I'm trying to say. Just go into the next one. Bring that wire through that frame. Pull it so it comes up in front of that loop. And there's your loop. Okay, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, so if you have a look, I've gone all the way around, just for you to see up close. Now I've got a gap here, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, instead of going around the frame again, I'm going to go into the loop. Oops. Down and into the loop and bring that wire back up. Exactly the same motion, making sure that the wire comes up towards me and over this wire here. So if you see, it's in front, and then you just pull and that will create another little loop for you. And I'm just going to do the exact same and do another rotation. I don't think I'm going to do more than just 2 rotations. I don't think I'll need it. This, when I pop the stone in, hopefully you'll see, will create my support to the stone. In fact, I might actually use my stone in here so that when I actually put that wire around, oopsie, I got hooked around my tools then, I can really go flat against that stone. Now if you get to a point like here where I can think, oh actually, if I was to get out to a good view for you, so see here, if I was to put the loop into there and there, it's going to look quite bunched, so it's okay to skip a loop. So I'm going to skip this particular rung here and I'm going to go to the next one. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'll show you the effect so you can see I've skipped that one. So when I put that one, it's not obvious that I've done it, and it looks consistent all the way around. So if you get to one and it's too close and you think I'm going to skip one, then that's absolutely fine. You're just supporting the back of the stone. Okay, so I've done that rotation. As you can see, I've gone around twice. I did end up taking the stone back out because it was tricky to hold it in and do the wrap, but it's whatever feels comfortable for you. Popping that back in, you'll see that we've got a nice support for the back of the stone, and it looks pretty as well. So that achieves that. And from the front, you've got that. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is that little tail, or the long tail in my case, that I wrapped around at the very beginning. I'm just going to bring that back into that same sort of part of the frame one more time, if I can just see where it is, just so you can see exactly what I mean. And then bring that up, come in with my flush cutters and snip that, and that gets rid of that tail. Okay, now this one here, what I'm going to do is bring it up, and there's a little gap, if you can see, between the top of the stone and the weave. I'm going to bring that wire straight through. I'll turn it to the side for you to see exactly what I mean. So that wire has come through, let me go to the right place for you, sorry. Through there, towards the front now, okay? Now obviously if you don't have enough wire to do this, then cut the wire and restart, but hopefully you will have enough. And then what I'm going to do is start to look at this and start to work out what I want to do. So I want to give it a nice bail, but I could also do the same technique as I did here around the front if you wanted to just hold it in with one layer of netting. But what I'm going to do is take some of these wires and work out how I want to finish this design. So I've got one here and one here. These are the outer wires again from the very front. And then it gives it, if we open this all out, we can see exactly what we've got. Okay, so we have all these wires. If you look, you've got pairs, okay? So ready-made pairs. So here and here is a ready-made pair. Here and here are ready-made pairs. And then you've got the two at the back that we've already wrapped together because we did that initially. Okay, and then we've got these two here, which are solo ones. So what I'm going to do is take this pair and this pair and keep them to the side for decoration. And I'm going to come in with this one and the two we've already wrapped to create the bail. So what I'm going to do is the wire that I've just brought to the front, I'm going to come in. Now the bail that you do is up to you. I'm going to do a simple bail. I'm going to go again to kick them out at the top. So I'm going to forget about those. I'm going to forget about those. I'm going to focus on these four. These two in the middle I'm going to treat like one, and these ones I'm just going to treat as a single one as well. So I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go around both those centre wires. Oops, sorry. Come back into position. I don't need the stone in there at this point because it's not being held in. And 2. Okay, so then the next outer wire, 1, 2, and then 3. Around into the middle towards me. Wrap that middle pair of wires once, and then come back into the middle of the opposite side. Scoot it down, and then 1, 2, 3. Middle wires, 1, 2, and then that back wire. So 1, 2, 3, over and around the middle ones, 1, and over into the middle, over this side, 1, 2, 3. This has to go over across the back of the two wires, around once, and then back into the middle again, and then that side. So it's going to look like this. Okay, so I'm going to go and continue. Okay, so you can see here that I've gone on ahead and I've gone halfway up. Now what's happened is I've opened out the wires slightly because I'm going to do like a diamond shape to just get a nice bail. So I want these to go out to a certain point. This is probably going to be enough, maybe a tiny little bit more, maybe ½ centimetre more. Then I'm going to kick these wires in. I will show you that in a moment. I wanted to just show you, I'm starting to run out of wire now. So what I've done is I want to show you how I would add wire in if you were to run out. So I've wrapped my 3 times on this side here. And then taking my pliers, I've just cut that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take another length. Now whenever I'm taking a new length, I'm taking probably 1 to 2 meters, a nice workable length of wire, because that wire should be able to continue on really, you know, once you've done that bail, as long as you don't cut the wire, it should be able to do your next sort of weaving section should you choose to do some more weaving. So I'm now going to come in over to the opposite side. So we cut the wire on this side, so I'm going to come into the opposite side, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I've got a little tiny tail here which I will cut once the weave has come established again, and then I'm going to come back in and pick this back up, and that should balance. Okay, so there you go, and that just picks that weave back up. 2, 3. Okay, now I can get rid of this tail. And then what I want to do now, because I don't want this to become too big a weave, a bail, sorry, I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. I don't need to change the centre wires. I'm just very gently going to kick in the outer wire to create like a nice diamond bail. And then when I get to the top part again, I'm just gonna open them all out so that it will kind of mirror the bottom of the bail. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and fill that back in. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I filled that whole bail in. So this is what it's looking like from the back and then the front. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is take my bail making pliers. I'm going to come in from the largest side and I'm going to go to that point part of the bail. Now you don't have to do a point, you can just do a straight bail if you want to. I'm going to place my pliers in right at that point and fold that wire over. So I'm coming towards the front of the piece, okay? And I'm going to just fold that over, take your pliers out, reposition them. And what you can do is kind of roll your hand then when you reposition them so that you get that into the place that you want it to go. Okay. Now obviously it's got a gap here, so I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers now and just hold all of these out at an angle so that you can see there is now, that's more aligned towards the actual bail itself. You can push that right in if you wanted to, tweak it a bit if you wanted to, and then these are going to sit there. Now you can come back in. I often find that you can get the lower size in, but you struggle to kind of replace the original size. But because we haven't set it yet, we could reopen it, replace them, and then just use it to get that sort of, sorry, just playing about with the camera so I can show you without keep hitting the camera move thing. There we go. So hopefully you can see that. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to place that right in there, and you can see that's now nicely shaped. You can straighten it up if you want to. You can see that's as it should be. Okay, from all angles. So now's the time we're going to start to actually set this stone. So placing this in. Okay, if these have opened out a little bit, that's fine. Just close it all up and you can start to see now how it's going to look. Get an idea of the finished, how you want it to look as a finished piece. So what I'm going to do now is have a little look. So I can see this wire and this wire here. Obviously at the moment we still have nothing to secure that stone. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is split these, I think, into this and this. Okay, because I need to give some support now to here. And I'm going to just take them and lock it up underneath that side pair. I'll show you up close what I've just done. Obviously the stone still hasn't been set, so that's fine. Okay, so you can see that bail wire, those two there. So now I've got another two from the opposite side. So again, bringing them, turn the whole piece around and hooking them to the back. Okay. Straighten it all up so it sits how you want it to sit, how it looks how you want it to look. Okay. So for the moment, they're going to cross at the back. So if you've just seen, all I've done is cross them across at the back like that. Keep them in position, and that's your back, and that's the front so far. So what I'm going to do now is I still have some of my weaving wire, which is what I explained, and I'm going to drop onto these two now, and I'm going to start working on this pair of wires. And what I'm going to do is a 5 and 3 wrap, which means I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around that single wire, and then 3 times around both the wires. 2, 3, scoot it up for you to see, just there, and then around that same single wire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, scoot it up 3 times around both those wires. 1, 2, 3. Scoot it up one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll hold up for you to have a good look at. 5 and 3. Okay, so I've gone ahead and just done a little section of that, and what I'm going to do is bring that all the way across. Now I've put my stone back in because I want to start to secure the stone now. I need to make sure that that stone is held in with this wire, okay? So I've got it just down to here, and it's going to look like that. Now what I'm going to do with this wire, I've stopped on my 5 wrap. When I go, so I'm going to do it now. Same as we did before, I'm just going to get that weaving wire to go through the frame, okay? And what I'm doing is stitching this little weave onto the previous weave. So it goes like that, and then I can go 1, 2, 3, and pick that weave back up, okay? So that's looking like that now. And that stone is held in. Alright, it's not looking as pretty. It's still not, it's not finished yet. It still needs a little bit more work done to it. But I'm starting to bring this together. I'm starting to secure that stone. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is do the exact same weave again on this pair of wires. Okay, so what I've done is I've left the tail wire on this. It's not a lot, but I've just left it anyway. I've taken a new length of 0.315 and I've started the exact same weave on the other set of wires that we initially folded into that loop, okay? What I'm going to do with these is I'm going to bring it across, so I want to start to fill in this space here now. So what I'm going to do is kind of place it like that. Oops, sorry. Okay, so you can see it's starting to fill in that area. It's definitely securing that stone. I mean, it still needs to be secured here, but that's going to be worked on. But it's starting to come down to here. And then what I'm going to do is continue this a little bit further so it meets the same point as here. Then I'm going to come over and decide what to do with these wires before finishing off these. Okay, so what you can see here is I've got these wires meeting and they've met. And I quite like that little bit of a gap between them, so I'm going to keep that. What I'm going to do is cut this wire here, which is on the outer pair of wires that we were just working on. Again, I'm cutting it on that 5 wrap so it blends in. I'm going to take these wires, split them into 4. So I've not done anything with these yet because it may be that I don't need to do anything with these wires. I might just be able to cut them off. I don't know yet. It's about balance with a project like this. So it's about knowing, getting to a point and then being able to balance it properly. So I'm going to come into this. And what I'm going to do is basically the weave that we started off with the for the bezel, going around the wires into 2s. So I've just brought that back down. You can see I stepped it down into 2s, and then I'm going to come back up. So I'm just repeating that initial weave that we did all the way around here, around once, twice, into the middle of the pair you just wrapped, around once and twice into the middle of the pair you just wrapped. So I'm just going to do that to here to fill this gap up. Okay, and again I want to support the bottom of the stone here. So I'm going to place this just so that it slightly goes up a little bit. Okay, so a couple of rotations of doing this. Okay, so the next move that I'm going to do is I've just stopped here for the moment. Okay, now what I want to do is take one of the wires on this side to kind of come up and fill again that little gap just there. So looking at the wires, I'm going to go for the top wire, bring it up and over so it runs into that sort of groove that's been created, and just form it to shape. Now if it's a little bit, okay, I'm going to just take my pliers and just run them along. These are just my nylon pliers, just to straighten that out a little bit, and then carry on. What I'm going to do is bring that down in between those wires where they've the 2 pairs are. Now if you're finding that it's not quite fitting in that gap. You can take your pliers and very gently widen that gap, bring the wire down and sit that into that groove. So it's pulled a little bit out of shape just here. So I want to come back in. Can you see it's moved? So I want to come back in again. I'm just very gently going to place that back where I wanted it to go, which was there, and then back into that sort of groove just there. And can you see I've kind of folded it here, and what that's done is that's locked it into place for me. Okay, what I'm going to do is trim that quite short, and then just kind of, I'll probably go a little bit shorter again, and just sort of lock that into the weave. So it's going to look like that. Okay, so with this wire here, I need to start to work out exactly where I'm going to place it. So whether I'm thinking of these wires just here, again I'm thinking I might just bring them up here, trim them, and then I'm going to just place them into almost underneath that bezel that we created. So I'm almost going to kind of come up and just turn that so it sits under that bezel, can you see? And again the same with this one just here, so it sits just under that bezel like that. It's locked, it's secured, and then we can carry on with these, okay, to support the rest of the piece. Now what I am going to do is, I can still see wire here and I can still see a bit of wire here, so I need to sort of think of a way that I can fill this wire in. If I bring this wire here and bring that one down, that will fill that gap, but it's still not going to fill it completely. It's still not going to take away that wiry kind of look. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is re-straighten that, place that back where I had it. Use your nylon pliers if you need to, just to straighten that out. And if you remember, we actually have the wires here that were creating that look. Sorry, there you go. So I can actually come in with these, and that's going to get rid of that look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come in, I'm going to coil one of these wires, hand coil it with some 0.315 wire, and use that. So what I'm going to do with this one is bring this one back over here so he can come back over to that side. So all I've done was uncross them. These are the bail wires from here and here, and all I've done is uncross them. They're locked in place anyway, the wire's already been used, this bail isn't going to go anywhere. We're still working on it, but it's just to bring them back into a position that becomes workable. I'm going to take a length of my 0.315, another length again because I'm starting to run out and I want to start a new section, and I'm going to just take a workable length of this wire, and I want to hand coil one of these wires. So looking at the piece, I'm thinking, well, I've got a woven section here, a plain wire here, a woven section here, so I'm probably going to coil this one here and keep this one plain. So I just want to quickly show you what I mean by hand coiling. I'm going to take the wire, I'm going to come towards the end of the wire I actually want to hand coil, leaving a little tail, and I'm just going to do little sections. So wrap a couple, scoot it up, wrap a couple, scoot it up. The reason I'm doing it here is because, as you can see, I've got all this clear space and I can get a nice neat coil by doing that. Slide it down a little bit, wrap it a little bit, and so on. Okay, so I've carried on and done that, so I'm going to just slide that right up to the join there, and then I can bring that down and that should fit nicely. And what I might even do is I'm going to try something now. I'm going to just take this and bring it down like this, just again to get that more sort of fluid look. There we go, there we are. So I'm doing this at a difficult angle because I'm trying to show you. So you can see how that's going to kind of go. Well, actually, okay, so we just lost a stone, but that's fine because I already said it's not 100% secure. This area here isn't secure, and that highlighted exactly why. But it's fine, we're all good. So coming back, creating this shape and bringing it here. So what I was going to do was try to come over like this, rotate this all the way around and just get that effect like that. So it's really starting to give a decorative detail here, and it's really sort of giving that detail here. But what I don't want to do is hide too much of the work we've already done. That kind of defeats the object. So I'm just going to kind of place it like this. So again, it will kind of blend in and give that fluid look. So again, I've already got that gap here from where we placed that other wire. If you need to widen it, come in with your pliers. Oops. Feed that through. And then same with this one. Feed that one through. Okay. And there's your sort of wires disappearing. Obviously, don't forget to cut that little tail wire just there. And kind of blend it so that it's... cut that a tiny bit short, to be honest, but what I'll do is I'll just kind of scoot it down a little bit, and that's blended in then, see. And the same as before, but what we're going to do is the same as we did on this step. Bring it, cut and tuck that into the frame of the cabochon. So I'm going to just take that and get the right pliers, fold that to sit under the frame. Okay, all right, so we're looking at, in fact, I think that's what I'll do with this little section just here. So open that back out. That was the one that we cut and sort of just looped. Going to bring that under and tuck that into the frame as well, because, you know, we've got the frame there, might as well use it, make the most of it, make it look nice and neat. And there we have that, and there you have that. So that's how it's looking from the back. That's how it's looking from the front. Okay, so I really don't want to cover too much of this stone up, especially this area here with all this lovely lavender essence. So what I'm going to do now is start to work on tying this all together. Straighten that wire out, because I want to bring that round to here. Alright, so again what I'm doing is I'm just placing it to get an idea of how I want it to look. And then obviously I have these two wires here still. So what I'm going to do with these is I think I'm going to... I have got a big case of dropsies today, sorry. So what I'm going to do... So what I'm going to do is just cut the wire here and wrap 1, 2 and then 3. And then I'm going to take a new piece of wire and start it afresh and do a weave just here. Right, so I've taken a new piece of wire, I'm bringing it in, just coming to beneath that gap there, and I'm going to go 1, 2 and 3, over and into the middle, over to the other side, 1, 2, 3, over to the other side, 1, 2, 3, over to the other side, 1, 2, 3. So you can see what I'm going to do is start to swoop that up just like this. Now what you can do is when you do this section here, come in and see if you can catch again. You see I'm just trying to feed that wire into the section there. if you can't get that wire around now, I'm struggling a bit, you can come up through the whole of the frame, like actually through the gap there, right underneath the whole of the frame. Because again, it's not going to be seen. And that's just going to stitch that into place as you start to go up. And what I'm going to do, as there's a bigger curve on the outer wire here, I'm going to do 5 on that outer wire there and 3 on the inner wire. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over to this side. 1, 2, 3, over to this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it a little scoot up, and we're going to just continue that up until I can form it around to meet up here. Okay, so as you can see, what I've done is I've carried on up into around here, and I've brought the wires together because tying in with the look that we have here, I wanted these wires to close up, to just close that design down a little bit. So to do that, what I've done is, again, just bringing them tight, just continuing the exact same weave. 1, 2, 3, over to the other side. 1, 2, 3. But it just looks different when those wires are closed, okay? So I'm just going to continue, and again, at this point, I can, hopefully, come in through that little gap in the frame. If the gap isn't quite wide enough, you can take a little pin and just kind of open up that gap a little bit with the pin. Can you see? Obviously go careful. You don't want to slip and stab yourself. That hurts. I know. From experience. So bring that around. For goodness sake. I'm so sorry. Okay. Bring that up to here. And that's, again, just pinning that to the actual frame. And then what I'm going to do is 1, 2, and 3. And then same over to this side, okay? And I'm just going to do that and catch this stone. And you can see, make sure, it's quite important now because this is the final securing, that this stone is actually being caught. So push the back to see if there's any movement. If there is, that's the time to kind of tweak this a little bit, pull this in a little bit, and make sure you're going to catch that gemstone, and that gemstone cannot escape. We know it can't go anywhere from the back because we've done this netting, so we need to make sure it's secured from the front. Okay, so I've gotten to a point here, so if I scoot this down, I'm about probably at 1/2 centimetre away from where it all starts, and what I'm going to do is bring this up and feed this, just try and feed it through a gap for all of that work there, so it should come out the back around about here. Okay, take your wire pliers if you need to, and give that a pull. That's going to just tuck that weave, hopefully. Keep it nice and tidy. There we go. You have to move it a little bit with your fingers or your plier, just to shape that exactly how you want it to be. So it's going to look like that. That wire can come into the back here. Okay, and it's come back up round to meet this one. Alright, and what I'm going to do is just wrap, still using the wire that I used to do all the weaving with. Okay, I'm just going to wrap this a couple of times just to get it as a sort of a coiled effect. Okay, I'll just be back. So, just wrapped it just a little bit. I just used up what I had left, to be honest. It's probably about 1.5 centimetres. And then I'm going to just bring this around, both of the wires together, the plain and the coiled one, Just bring that around here like this. I'm going to get rid of this bail wire just here. I don't feel that he's needed, but at the moment I'm just going to just kind of bring that straight back. Just again, it's a little swirl, it's a little bit more stability, it's holding that stone in place. With these wires, I'm going to, as we've done previously, I'm going to take them, cut them probably about 1/2 centimetre past the back of the frame and just tuck them inside that frame. And the same on this one. Oh, it's got a perfect gap just there for that one to go through. So that's those. I quite like that little detail. I think it ties in with that effect there. Now I have got this one here, and before I cut it, what I'm doing is I'm placing it back along here, and before I cut it and think, do I need it, I'm just going to have a little look and see if it can fit in or if it's going to be too much. And I'm going to bring that and follow the shape of the other swirls, and I think I'm going to keep that, and I think I'm going to just pop it into this little gap just here. Now I have to wiggle it a little bit because I'm kind of interfering with the frame of the piece now. Actually, I'm going to go underneath. So I'm not going to, I was originally going to go and try to go under the cabochon, but what I'm going to do is go in that gap. Can you see that just there between the weaves? So, goodness me. Where this weave is here, there's like a tiny gap. I'm going to take that wire and feed that through. You can see that there. And when I push this through, I'm going to obviously make sure that it sits where I want it to sit. I actually really quite like how that's kind of turned out. It's holding that nicely in place. Just kind of straighten this out a little bit. Back over here, as previously. Snip that back. Cut that just there, tuck it in. And there's the back. There's the front. Make sure you're happy. Now a little top tip that I can kind of give. Take your pliers and kind of, I just tend to like to go over the whole piece. I find it settles it. It takes away any potential sharp edges you may have missed. Makes the whole piece look a little bit more together. Okay, so we have that like that. If you're happy with that, I'm going to come back into that bail now. I'm going to come back in with my pliers, make sure, oh hello, little friend's joining us there with some 0.315. Pop that back in, really straighten that, really make sure you're happy with how that's holding. Make sure that stone is as secure as it can be, which obviously it really is, can't go anywhere. Tidy up that bail. And then what I like to do is take your pliers and just run down the sort of channel that you've got in between that centre wire and the outer wires. Really make that centre spine almost. Pop. Do that all the way around. Okay. See that really pronounced shape then. And that is your finished piece. Held in, and as I said, little trick just to make sure, push the stone, make sure there's no movement in that stone at all. That cannot go anywhere. You know, it's supported at the back, still looks nice at the back, you know, it doesn't look overly messy. One of my wires there, if you see, has just moved, so I would come back in and just tuck that in, make sure that it can't go anywhere. And there you have, again, handle your piece. I always say handle it, feel it, make sure there's no sharp edges. But yeah, there you go. That's the finished piece. And you can see, and I'll take it all the way around. And there you go. So again, you could do this with any shape that you want. Obviously it's lost the fact that it was maybe a teardrop, it's not so apparent there. Obviously if you did it with the oval, it would look different again because your wires might have a different placement. And don't be afraid to kind of branch out and try something a bit different. You know, you might think, well, I don't want that wire to go there. There was plenty of places that I could have stopped. I didn't have to do this section here, I didn't have to do the additional details here. you know, have a little go and see what you develop. I love doing things like this. I love the fact that you never know what the end result will be, and I love the fact that it looks organic. Yeah, anyway, let me know what you think. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please click notification. It'd be great if you could subscribe, and just have a great day.